Hi Homeworthy, I'm Reena. Thank you so much for visiting my home here in Cardiff in Wales. Come on in, I can't wait to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name's Reena Simon. I'm a creative director, designer and author of Rustic. Welcome to my home here in Cardiff, Wales. We bought this house 7 years ago. We had outgrown the house we were living in, so we were in a terraced cottage, which was our first home. But then we had our 3 daughters and they quickly grew older, needed more room, and as a family we needed more space. So we were actually looking for a kind of, period property, an Edwardian house or, Victorian, just something that was like really had lots of character. And I think that at the time we were just looking for something that everyone was looking for, so there wasn't much on the market. And that's when we actually stumbled by accident across the bungalow. So this was actually a single story 1960s bungalow. And when we saw it, it was like an ugly duckling. It wasn't this kind of house that pulled you in and drew you in. But what we did love was the garden. It was surrounded by trees and nature. And that's what really sold it to us. We knew that it was going to be quite like a difficult journey because it's actually a backland development, which is a house behind a house. So it's quite unique in that we knew that we'd have to get planning permission because we needed to make it bigger. We knew we needed to add another floor. So when we saw it, we did already have an insight into the work that it would need and the permissions we would need to get. So we really had to bring in architects pretty much from day one. So, all right, we're going to start here in the hallway. So we don't have a grand hallway. In our original design for the bungalow, we did have a first design, which had a really big hallway. We had a glass link. It was a much bigger property and footprint, but that actually got rejected. And so what we've got now is our second design. And with that, we lost that kind of big entryway. So that's why we've kept things kind of open plan. So we haven't shut this space off with doors because even though it's not really vast, we still want it to feel open. And so the first room I want to take you in is our butility. So if you're wondering what a butility is, we called it that, and it is actually the name of a room because it's a very hybrid, multifunctional room. It's part boot room, part utility. So you have some functional things happening in here. We've got a freezer, we've got a sink, but we've also got a pantry and a place to keep all of our bags, shoes and coats. I really want to show you some of my favourite pieces. So when you walk in, I really love this bench. So this is from a brand called 101 Copenhagen. So it's Danish furniture. And I love the kind of really oversized and chunky like legs on there, and this you can actually perch on, so sometimes people will sit here to take their shoes off, but I can also use it to display some really nice lighting. This is a light that I designed and I love this. I love the charred black wood, which mirrors the charred black wood of the house. So we clad our home in Shosugiban, so I'm sure you'll see that later. But I echoed lots of the materials in the home in my design work. And so here as well, this cupboard and cabinetry is from a collection I designed with the main company. I love solid materials, so this is solid oak. But then also what I wanted to add was texture. So I wanted to have these rattan inserts and panels. You'll notice as well that with the cabinetry, I wanted to whitewash it. So this has got just a bit of a white tint to it. And what I love about that is that it just lifts everything and it's kind of in keeping with the paint colour and just, again, the Scandinavian design and Scandinavian feeling of the space. So I designed this cabinetry collection with the main company and I wanted to add a white wash to it. And that was just really, again, inspired by Scandinavian design and keeping things really light and bright and fresh. I also feel like this room, even though it's a very functional room and it's very, very hard working, I was like, I wanted it to be beautiful too. And so materiality really comes into play here. I've got like polished concrete floors, which has lots of movement and texture in it, but I wanted to pair it then with the softness of this solid oak. Materiality really came into play in this room. So even though it's a very functional, hard-working space, I still wanted to make it beautiful. So you'll see the start of the roof windows. We have 11 roof windows, I think, in the house. We're north facing, so it was really important to have lots of glass. And I just love the reflection. And when the light comes in, if you look up, you see trees. And then throughout the day, the light changes. And I love the reflections and dappled light. You'll see here, this is what I love. I love the shadows and the light that the roof windows cast onto the walls. And I love the paint actually we used in here. This is one of my favourite little green colours, and it's travertine. And I just feel like I love like an off-white that's really earthy and moody. So in here, I really wanted to add marble. So again, this is real marble. Lots of people will avoid real marble in spaces and in their homes, but this is where I like to celebrate imperfection. That doesn't scare me, and I don't mind that I've got real marble. And I wanted to get like an oversized sink in here as well, because this is like a boot room and we want to like do a lot of cleaning, like maybe sometimes Simba, sometimes wellies and boots. You know, this gives us enough space. And with this, we were able to have a slanting roof, and we've got a really nice ceiling height. I think it's, I'm not sure, probably just shy of 5 meters in here. And I just love it. And this is where we've been able to have very towering cabinets and be able to introduce more glass here. We've got reeded glass cabinets. And so this just serves as extra storage. We've got a big family, there's 5 of us, and then I've obviously got lots of siblings, brothers and sisters, and we often host. So it's really nice just to have extra storage. So I do really feel like this room and space is an extension of our kitchen. One other thing I love is this. So this is a vintage chest. I love it when you have items in your home that travel with you wherever you go. So we've had this chest from when we rented homes to our first home, and now it's here in our, family home today. I mean, it's just full of just, things that we probably don't need, but I just love the look of it. And it's just, again, bringing old and new into a space is something that I really like to do. To give more context, so the single-storey bungalow was 3 bedrooms. As you walked in, there were rooms and then there were stairs internally that led you to another floor. So we knew then that we wanted to work on a kind of really interesting layout if we could get permission for that, which we did end up securing. And so with the architect, the big first step on the journey of renovating the bungalow was the layout. So with the layout of the bungalow, we knew what we wanted to do was make things more open plan, just for modern day family living. To take you back a step, I thought that we had come from a period property, we were going to get a period property, and here we were with a new build. And it was kind of quite overwhelming to think, how am I going to add character to this? But that was the most exciting part of the bungalow and bringing it to life. So then with the architect, the first thing we needed to do was to work out on the layout. So we knew we wanted to have an open plan living space for the family. We knew we wanted to have a bedroom each for the girls. We have got 3 girls, and we knew we wanted to have a kind of oversized bathroom. And we wanted to have a very cosy second lounge space that we've actually got upstairs, which again is quite unconventional, but quirkiness was one of the main design, principles for the house and what we've created. It just feels like a little bit different. And then once we had the layout sorted and we could move on to the interior design, I did all of this, so I didn't want to hire in designers. I wanted to do this myself, and I just think that if you've got an eye for it and you can bring together colours and pattern and textures, it's just really exciting. It was a journey I wanted to take. All right, I want to show you now the kitchen. So we have an open plan living space, but the kitchen obviously is where we spend most of our time and most of the day. So a few kind of design details that I'm really passionate about in here that I really wanted to achieve was having continuity in the materials that I was choosing for the space. So we've got a polished concrete floor, and I wanted to kind of mirror that on the higher level surfaces. So for our worktops, countertops, and for our splashback, which I think that the Americans call backsplash, we have kept the same topaz concrete from Caesar stone. We've got it here, we've got it on our floating shelf. That was actually quite difficult to achieve. We have big metal rods holding the weight of this up. So because we had such a thick wall, we're able to do that. So it's, you know, got that floating feeling. So we've got this floating shelf with the splashback going into the worktops, and then we mirror that on the island here. So that's all just one material. And what I think is really beautiful about that is that wherever you're stood in the kitchen, it feels like very calm and tranquil, and it feels like it's in the background. So it's not trying to compete for attention, and it's not, you know, really in your face. It's a very calm, warm minimalism, and that's what I really like. So that's one of the key design features that I love. I also love open shelving. I think that can be quite controversial. Like, people are either in an open shelf camp or they are no, hide everything away. So I love the open shelving because every single item on that shelf tells a story. So I've got things like my teapot here, which was an anniversary present from my husband. I've got these ceramics, that's from a British brand called Dante Ceramics, and that's handmade, and it's like craftsmanship and again tactile, just even reaching for it and looking at it. Again, it's got that feeling, that sensorial feeling, and it just invites you to want to pick it up and make yourself a coffee. Then I've got, this is a favourite brand of mine, that's Firm Living. That's obviously a Danish brand. And then this is one of the lights that I co-designed. And then I've got these objects which are from my travels. So I've got things from Italy and Spain. And you'll notice that all of the materials on there, again, it's stone, it's soft, it's ceramic, and it all tells a story. And then it's things like that which add the uniqueness, character and personality to the home. Even though I love minimalism, it doesn't mean that I don't want my home to tell a story. And so I think it's really important to add personal elements, and the kitchen just so happens to be a perfect place to do that. So the kitchen really does celebrate the black house because we've gone for a black kitchen. So the exterior of our home is black. That's all clad in shosugi-ban, which is the charred wood, Japanese method of charring wood. And then we've also mirrored it in the kitchen. So I really wanted to echo the black house, so you could see it inside and you could see it outside. So going back to that whole indoor-outdoor living, I wanted the two to connect. So we've gone for a black kitchen, and this is actually from Devolve, and it's black painted wood, and it's actually an ink. So I'm not sure it's a paint actually, it's like stained, it's an ink and it's stained. And I love that it's got, again, that tactility, and you can't help but want to just touch it and you're intrigued by it. So yeah, I really feel like that was a good decision. And so we have actually given up quite a lot of space to the kitchen island. I know this is quite monolithic, it's quite big and it takes up a lot of space, but we just love gathering around here. And so we wanted to get comfy chairs and chairs at the back, and I really love these. These are from Oka. This is topaz concrete from Caesar stone. So it's like a, it's not stone, it's like a faux, I don't even know what it would be. You know, it's like, you know, like Decton and all of those, it's like that. The kitchen island is really important in our home because this is where we prep all of the food and where we spend a lot of time. Unlike the real marble and the butility, in here we have actually used a material that's like non-porous. So you can have, cook and use anything on here without the fear of staining it and it not lasting. This is our dining space. So I would say that aside from the kitchen, this is the other area of the house we spend most of our day. And because we eat here, we do our homework here, I actually work from here because I don't have a separate office space. And this dining table is really special to me because I designed this when we bought our first home, the terraced cottage I was telling you about earlier. And this was a table I designed for that home and for our family then. And it's come with us to this house. And this is, again, the contrast of materials. It's got a steel frame and then a wood done in a parquet style top and a bench to go with it. And then I've got these really like iconic chairs. And when I say iconic, it's because I love IKEA. I love IKEA as a brand, and they did a collaboration with the designer, and these were like limited edition dining chairs. Then with the dining space, we have got a light here over it, which is a light that I co-designed. So this is part of my collection, the Reena Simon collection that I did. And again, I've gone for to add some softness to what's a very kind of rectangular and boxy shaped house. It was really important then to bring in lighting fixtures, which could be in materials that were softer and shapes with curves and, just to soften the space. Then the other area, which I love about our dining space and the kitchen, are the windows. So we have got floor to ceiling windows. And I could have chosen clear glass, but I didn't want to. I wanted to kind of add character to the home. And so a way of doing that was to invest in glass that had these architectural glazing bars. So what that does here is it kind of creates this mood of like each frame feels like a picture and it feels like a gallery almost, and each view out is framed. And you see something different in each one. And I just think that that's magical and that makes me smile every day. So one of the things that I wanted to design in this space was obviously the floor to ceiling glass. And I wanted to have as much natural daylight as possible, which is also something that's really fundamental in Scandinavian design, which is something that I champion. And so, and with that, we have that. And on a sunny day, it's amazing. On a bright and dry day, it's incredible. But we're north facing, and during the winter, it gets dark very early on. So what I was finding is the first couple of years we lived here, that this huge amount of glass in the evening would just turn into just one giant kind of black box. And that actually had a different feeling in the evening. And it just felt too cold and stark. So what I decided to do, which was retrospectively, which if I had thought about it sooner, I could have designed it in from the start, was to have some sheer curtains. So we've got these sheer curtains, which I absolutely love. And so now, as soon as we lose the light, we can close and draw these, and they run the entire width and span of the glass. And so in the evening, it feels so calm and soft, and it feels so cozy and inviting. So I definitely feel like thinking about things like your curtains and finishes that you want to achieve. If you don't want to necessarily have a curtain pole, it's good to think of things early on in like renovations. I really struggled with the area behind the dining table for a long time. I didn't quite know what to put here. And then this came out quite recently in IKEA. They were celebrating their, I think, 25-year anniversary. And I absolutely love it. Like I've always wanted like a display cabinet. It's probably from my childhood, where my mum would have like a Welsh dresser and it would have lots of things on display. And I think you'll see in the house that that's something that I love, is just to display things that I love and things that I use every day. So this I love and provides an amazing backdrop for the dining table. And then something that took the longest in our house. So this is something that we haven't, we didn't even look at. We've been living in the house for over 5 years. And it's only last year that we started to invest in art. And I think that that's for a couple of reasons. Obviously, art can be quite costly, but also I think it just takes forever to find what draws you in. art is so subjective, and you have to obviously agree as well on a piece that's so substantial and big with your partner and your other half. And so this was something, we were on holiday in Fornalutx in Mallorca, and I had just like come, you know, from a place where I'd had a bit of spent some time in hospital. So it was our first trip abroad in over a year. And we were just walking past an art gallery in this tiny cobbled square and street. And that just caught my eye, and I just fell in love, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. We went in to have a look at it, and but we just thought, oh, it just felt like too big a commitment in terms of, you know, costs and things like that. So we just walked away and left it. My husband's mother, who was with us on holiday, gave it to me. And so she had gone back in and bought it for us. The reason I love this painting is because it's an abstract kind of, you know, take on a tree, and trees are really important to the Black House, and the reason why I fell in love with the house and the reason we bought it. And this just feels like looking in my garden, and I can look at it here. All right, I'm going to bring you now to the living room and the living space. So this is actually, believe it or not, the space where we spend the least amount of time, because obviously we're not here in the day, or I am, but I'm working. And then, you know, we're in that era where the kids are doing activities every evening and Saturday and Sunday mornings. So I would say that us congregating as a family together here is more like maybe on the weekends if we're having an 80s movie night, or if we've got all the family over. And so because we are a family of 5 and we live close to my family, all my siblings and my mum and stepdad and my husband's mum, we're all in Cardiff. So I really wanted to have lots of seating. So I actually designed this sofa for a brand actually called sofa.com, and the fabrics are all from my collection as well. And I love the whole back-to-back sofa design because I just think that it's so inviting and cozy. And that even though we don't necessarily congregate here all the time, there's always someone in the day when we're using the kitchen and dining space using these seats here. So yeah, I really love all of the areas to sit. In the living space as well, this is where it's so cozy, and where I've introduced like a New Zealand wool rug, which I love because we've got polished concrete floor, so then the softness of walking in here is feels very comforting. And then we decided not to make the TV like the centerpiece. So lots of people, again, I feel like this controversial, you know, some people will say you have to have the TV above the fire, but actually I wanted it to not have so much a dominance and so much of a presence. So the TV we've actually got to the left. And then I love having this kind of floral installation, which you'll see running throughout the house. And then I update that seasonally. And I just think that that, to me, is again another a design feature I love, of bringing the outdoors indoors. And the wreaths actually got bits of foliage and florals from our actual garden. So I just think that it makes the house and this space feel really unique and, again, really calming. One of the things I love about our living space is the window seat. So again, I don't often get to sit here, but when I do, I absolutely love it. It's just such a nice, calming space to sit in, and you get a really kind of gorgeous view of the garden. And it's just very, again, like peaceful and tranquil, and it's more just being that connected to the outside and to the outdoors. And I think that it's just a place, this window seat is a place that guests and family gravitate towards. So because we built our house from scratch, and so we had to, you know, add features to it. You know, we built the fireplace, and then we did it at first with no shelves, and we lived with it for a couple of years. But then I kind of felt like I wanted to cocoon the space even further. So we actually added the shelves at a later date. and then I designed them so that they could just be there to hold objects and books as well. And I just think that it automatically reads as this is a living space, but not necessarily like a TV viewing space. It just has a different feeling when you can incorporate objects and you can have things on display and you don't make the TV like the focal point of your living area. So one of the things that I've really enjoyed about our journey of designing and furnishing the house is the time it's taken us to invest in art and, find things we love. And an artist actually got in touch with me and they wanted to design a piece together. And this is by that artist, Rajan. And I absolutely love this. So I do love abstract art. But what I really love about this is it's got so much texture in it. He's so talented. When the artist Rajan got in touch, he wanted to come to the house first. He wanted to really feel the house. He wanted to feel the story and he wanted to see it before he even took a paintbrush to paper. And when he came here, I told him about the story of the house, and why we bought it and why we love it. He went away and created the piece. And we went for something really oversized to fill this double height space that we have in the open plan living space. It's so textured and tactile. And again, it just invites you to touch and just engages the senses. But what I love about this is that he asked me what I wanted to call it. I asked him what was the story behind the black part of the painting. And he said that the black in the painting represents building the house from the ground up. And that just really spoke to me. And so I straight away said I wanted to name this piece of art Origins. So this is called Origins. And again, I just love the story behind it. I love how personal it is to us. And I love that the artist, Rajan, he came here to experience the house before he even painted it. So when I was building the house, there were like a few non-negotiables. And for me, one of the non-negotiables with this not being a period property and what I was used to, and I really, really wanted to have a real fire. I love the smell and I love the, it's the feeling. So this wasn't like this wasn't about the aesthetics. This was about the feeling, and I just knew that I had to have a fire. So you'll see in this open plan living space that we've got a fire, and it's quite oversized and for a reason, because obviously this is a double height space, but I just love it and I think that it looks stunning. I think, like a lot of us, from my childhood, one of the things that I did and then gave up and really regret in my adult life is the piano. So I learned to play as a child, and then too early on, I just gave it up, and it's something that I've always regretted, but it's something that has had so much meaning to me still, that with every home I've ever lived in, from a child and as an adult, I've always had a real piano. And when we left our Victorian cottage to build the black house and come here, our piano couldn't come with us because it was so old. It just couldn't move with us and survive it. So I looked on on Facebook Marketplace and I found this Petrov piano and I absolutely love it. I'm learning to play at the moment and my daughters also learn. And so this is used, it's very much not just to look at, and we all really enjoy it. I knew straight away that I wanted to add character to what essentially was a new build home. We knocked down most of the walls. We actually only had 3 walls left standing. And then from there, we obviously built the house and the fabric of the building and the structure. Now, what's really interesting with that is when I was working with the architect on the drawings, I said, like, how can we celebrate this is a new build? How can we celebrate that, we've built this house from the ground up? So that's where we decided to keep some of the steel work exposed. and the ceiling joists in the open plan living space, that's all exposed. Yes, we had to work a bit harder to make sure then we had soundproofing between the ground floor and the first floor, but actually by celebrating the fabric of the building, I think that was the first step in adding character to the house before we'd even got onto the interior decor. I really wanted to use materials that just engaged all the senses, that just brought you in. I just wanted to add materials that invited touch and that really kind of made you feel what I feel when I live here, which is really calm and tranquil. And how I did this was by exploring and using different paints, different textures on the walls throughout. And I've even cladded a lot of walls with the cross-sawn wood flooring, which you can also use on walls. So then that means that you straight away lose just a white building. And the other thing I wanted to do was, when we actually came across the bungalow, even though it was like an ugly duckling and it wasn't the most beautiful home to look at, in the 60s when it was built, it would have actually been quite exciting at the time, because it already had floor to ceiling windows, and it already even though it was only single story, it made use of views. And so we actually kept some of those openings and replicated them in our design. And we knew as well we wanted floor to ceiling glass as much as we could throughout the house, on the ground floor and the first floor. And the reason we did that is because the house is surrounded by trees. So all the trees have got, they have a tree preservation order. So, you can't just chop them down. And we've got a stream at the bottom of the garden. So it's all really about being as physically close to nature and being able to take that all in and experience it every day. So we did give up a lot of wall space to glass and windows. And I think that, again, that helped us add character to what was a new house. I'm not a trained professional interior designer, so this is a passion of mine that has grown and grown over the past few years. So it all started when I became a homeowner for the first time. So that was way back in probably 2011, and I just had my first baby, and I was at home. I was in my 30s. I was spending for the first time all of my time at home. I wasn't out and about as much, and we had just bought our first home. And it was a doer-upper, it was a fixer-upper, it needed a lot of work. And it was on that journey where I could, I had to make decisions, and I had to think about how my home needed to serve me, that my passion for design was born. So I designed that house first. We opened up the space, it was a terraced cottage, and that's when I first came across Scandinavian design as well, and actually when I first started my Instagram, because Instagram was one of the first places I went to for inspiration alongside Pinterest. And so then I just became immersed in the design world. I obviously started buying lots of design books. I've always been into magazines, so I just bought even more magazines, but this time, instead of fashion, I was looking at interior magazines. And I just became kind of quite obsessed with curating mood boards and just getting to know, okay, what is it that brings me joy? What do I love? So what do I love in terms of colour, scent, feeling? It was all of those things, and that all came together in my first home. Then from there, we had outgrown that home, and that's when we built the Black House, which is where I am now. And along that journey, along the renovation journey, is when I also set up Hygge for Home. And Hygge for Home, and what I do is quite multifaceted. Within my brand that I have now, I don't just do content creation for brands. I actually write books. So I wrote Rustic in 2020, which is an interior design book. We've sold a lot of them in the US and the UK and across Scandinavia. And that's, again, all about Scandinavian design. I think that what I was chasing was calm and tranquility. When I built and designed the first home, it was all about, okay, I'm at home all the time. I want to be in a home that I don't want to leave, because I can't leave necessarily either, because I had young children. And then it was from there that I realised that for me, calm meant light and bright, and obviously being able to see out, having a garden space and that indoor-outdoor living. So all of that coincided with my career. And then as I grew my career and I founded Hygge for Home in 2018, Hygge for Home has become my brand now. So I have my book, Rustic, which is an interior design book where we travelled across Scandinavia and we show off homes in Sweden and Denmark and the UK, and that all have this kind of love for light and open plan spaces, but also coziness. And actually, with the materials you choose, how you do create hygge, and which is coziness and that feeling of wanting to gather and all be together. And then it was building the black house here, which when I was coming to the interior design and I was thinking about each room and how I wanted each space to feel, and then I was furnishing it, it was then when I was looking for products to fill my home with and pieces that I loved and would want to have for a very long time. And I became really, really passionate about materials. It's where my design career came out of that. So I was able to partner with and collaborate with brands that I love to design lighting and sofas and, you know, these really kind of like items for people's homes that they want to, again, that bring comfort and warmth. All right, I'm going to take you now into the snug space. So we have a split level bungalow, and this is the original part of the building, and then parts of the girls' bedrooms are an extension. What I wanted to do was lose a bit of the space from their bedrooms to have a very small snug. And I love this space because this is where they just gather and cozy, and they, you know, go on their iPads and play games with their friends. But also I've got this really beautiful oversized map of the world, and it's a pin map, so they can pin on there everywhere that we've traveled together as a family. So when we're talking about kind of favorite spaces, I actually now feel like this is one of my favourite spaces. So this is the main family bathroom, and I just wanted it to feel like a spa. So you'll just see that it's got that feeling. We've got like tad lacked on the walls, which is like polished plaster. We've got micro cement on the floors. We've kept this part of the house like as tall as we could. And it's just, everything in here feels very calming and sensorial. One of the things that I love to do, which I loved designing in my old house, and I've brought my love of nature into this house, is that I love styling with florals, and I love using things from the garden. I work with an amazing florist and friend, and she helped make the wreath in the living space, and then I commissioned her to make this for me. And I just think what a beautiful way to dress a window space. So this is all these pieces of grass and all these florals are taken from the garden landscaping, and I just wanted to create a piece of, like, it's almost like a piece of art. So when you're in the bath and you're relaxing, or even when, you know, you come in here and have a shower, this all adds to that feeling of nature. What I really appreciate about this bathroom is that we lost a bit of one of the girls' bedrooms to make the bathroom bigger. And so we've got 3 girls. We knew that this bathroom would need to work really hard, and it's going to be really well used. And so coming from our terraced cottage and a very, very tiny, small bathroom, we wanted this one to be a lot bigger. And we had a lot to fit in here: a bath, a shower, some open shelving again, which I love in my design world. But the one thing I really wanted was a double sink. And this has honestly been amazing, because with a very busy and big family and with 3 girls, this is very well used. I often get asked what tips to share on you know, how people can design their own homes and spaces. And for me, I always start with designing for the feeling, you know, the feeling that you want to create to a space. Your home needs to serve you and no one else. And so that's where I like to start. It's about, okay, so, you know, when you walk into the space, do you want to, well, I feel like most of us would want to feel calm and tranquil. And then it's about breaking it down and thinking about, okay, so how do you make a space feel calm and tranquil? Or think about colours, like think about the paints on your wall. But then I took things one step further, think about texture. So I've gone for like a painted textured plaster finish, and I've used Tadlac as well on a lot of walls in our home. And then one of the other things, so when you're layering and adding texture, it's about the materials in your home. So we have lots of New Zealand wool rugs. I love linen, so we've got lots of linen. I also love boucle. I love fabrics that when you sit down, you just want to stroke the fabrics, feel them and touch them. So I think fabric is a really key thing when it comes to materiality as well. And then for me, it was all about designing the indoor-outdoor living. So one of the ways that I did that was obviously lots of big windows with views of outside, and then replicating and mirroring the interior design on the exterior. So outside in our garden, we've actually got a space to bathe, we've got a hot tub, we've got a space to play with a sunken trampoline, we've got a space to dine, and we've got an outdoor kitchen. So it's very much how you live inside is how we want to live outside. We're not as blessed here in the UK with good enough weather. We don't see the sun as much as, you know, other countries, but I still wanted to maximise the space that we had, you know, that was ours, and really make the best use of it. All right, we're now upstairs. So we are on the first floor, which is what we added to the bungalow. So this is a brand new part of the house, and probably the newest part. So this is our snug space, and what we wanted to do upstairs was I really wanted it to feel like a hotel. I wanted it to feel, you know, that it was kind of very a space to retreat to and a space to just relax in a different way to downstairs. And so I wanted to have, whereas downstairs is very open plan, I wanted upstairs to be super cozy. It's also a space to relax and read and just sit and look out to the garden. It's up here that you get a different viewpoint of all of the trees as well, and it almost feels like you're living in a tree house. So you'll see from the house that the way that I like to design is like, you know, and adding character is I've got lots of like open shelving and objects and personal things that tell a story. And this was the first gift we got given to us when we moved in. And this is actually a model of our black house. And I just really love this. So I really wanted a home for some of these things. And then I obviously just love books. You know, I've written a book, Rustic, and so I wanted somewhere to house lots of the design books that I love. I also really love travel, and so I wanted a space here from things, places we've been in the UK, like Cornwall, as well as abroad. And I love the sunsets. I love sunsets. So I've got this poster from a brand that I love called Hotel Magique. And I've got this is the space in a room where I've also continued the marble. So this is marble that you would have seen in the Butility earlier on. And then I've also used it upstairs. So I think that, you know, using the same to give the house just feels, that helps with the calmness, you know, the continuity of materials. And so every space that you go in doesn't feel like a brand new space. It all feels very connected. All right, so now we are in the smallest room in my house. It's just a privilege to have an ensuite. And in here, I've again really thought about just feeling like tactile and very spa-like and very calming. So from the colours, but I have actually veered away from just neutrals in here, and I've gone for a very soft plaster pink, and this is again tad lacked. And then I wanted to add more texture, so I've used these really nice Moroccan tiles, which I love. And I have gone for lots of unlacquered brass finishes in terms of the fixtures and fittings. And again, it's because I really like imperfect design and design that tells a story and that ages with time. And that really does kind of help to build character to our new build home. There's lots of spaces in my home which are my favourites, and ones where I just find myself often retreating to. So I really love kind of the open plan living space. I love the dining table because we gather there so much. We're there to do homework, we're there to eat, I work from the dining table as well. And I've always got a view out to the trees. So I really love the dining space. But then I also love how I've created nooks and like cozy corners. We have like a window seat, and then we have armchairs in unexpected places where I just like to go and have a moment, and also as well always with a view out, always with candlelight. And I just think that I've created kind of a home where from the moment you walk in you just feel calm and tranquil, and I just think you just like pause and exhale and you just feel like really relaxed. And that's really how I want anyone to feel when they arrive and when they come to our house. I want them just to straight away just feel like, you know, you want to take your shoes off, you want to find a cozy spot. You'll see today that we have like lots and lots of seating areas, and we have lots of places where you can just take a seat, because that's what I wanted. I want a home that you want to just relax and pause in. I really feel that what gives my home soul is that I've created a very calm backdrop. You know, my home and my day-to-day life is chaotic. There is a lot of chaos. I have 3 young children, but actually the way that I've designed the home and the things that I have in my home tell a different story. You know, I want to kind of really engage with the objects in the home that all evoke memories. I want to light my candle. I want to sit on my boucle chair, and it's that really gives my home soul. All right, I am now bringing you into the bedroom. So I really, really love this space. I really, really like this space because I've tried to keep it as minimal as possible. I wanted to feel, like I mentioned, like a hotel room. And what I've always noticed, you know, when you go away, they keep things very sparse. It's not cluttered with things. And I wanted minimal furniture. So in here, we've just got a seat. We've got the bed, we've got a vintage bench at the end with a really nice soft sheepskin over the top, and then just 2 very small bedside tables. So I wanted to keep it, again, very calm, very tranquil, and just celebrate the fact that we've got this view out to lots and lots of trees and just being fully immersed. Even in the winter when all the trees lose their leaves and they're just more twig-like, it still feels like you're living with nature, and it's what that does for your mind and well-being. It just makes you feel just calmer and just really appreciating. Home to me means safety. It's kind of, you know, it's obviously where I live with my girls and my husband and our dog Simba, and it's where I've rebuilt myself, and it's just really served me through the last few years, which have seen ups and downs. And I just think that it is a place which just brings us joy, and most of all just calm. Thank you so much for coming here today, Homeworthy. It's been great to have you here in Wales, and now I've got to go. Thank you, bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.